The moon of Sorel 9 was quiet, peaceful, and slow. Soft blue forests covered its valleys, and gentle silver rivers glowed at night under the twin stars. The wind carried a calm whisper, like a lullaby sung by nature itself. It was the kind of place where travelers rested, farmers worked, and no one spoke loudly. Life moved gently here. This quiet world was home to Rythar, a former soldier of the Valorian Alliance. Rythar was tall, with smooth, deep green skin and bright amber eyes that looked thoughtful most of the time. His species was known for intelligence and patience, but Rythar was different from others of his kind. He carried something the peaceful moon could not wash away, memories of a war that changed him forever. Every morning before the first light touched the sky, Rythar walked through the forest. He moved slowly, breathing deeply, listening to the rustling leaves. This was how he tried to calm his mind. He believed that nature had a voice if someone was willing to listen. And Rythar always listened. But even in the quiet, his mind returned to the past, to the war, to the days when the stars burned brighter from explosions, to the moment when he stood beside humans for the first time. Long ago, before Sorel 9 became his home, Rythar was part of a large military force. The Valorian Alliance worked to maintain peace in the galaxy. They were calm thinkers, careful planners, and hardly ever rushed into battle. For years, Rythar followed orders with discipline and honesty. He learned strategy, diplomacy, and how to protect life rather than destroy it. Then came the Great Rift conflict. A powerful enemy appeared, a force that grew stronger each day, pushing across worlds, demanding that others join them or fall. Many species across the galaxy were afraid. Some surrendered, some fled. Only a few stood and defended their homes. Among those who chose to defend were the humans. Rythar had never heard of humans before that war. To him, they were just another small species living in a distant region of space. His commanders believed humans to be fragile, emotional, and inexperienced in galactic matters. There were stories claiming they argued with each other often, that they made mistakes, and that they took risks without thinking. But when Rythar met them on the battlefield, everything he thought changed. Humans did not look strong. Their bodies were not large. Their technology was not the most advanced, but their hearts, their determination, burned brighter than anything Rythar had ever witnessed. They did not fight because they wanted to conquer. They fought because they cared, about family, about home, about each other. That was when Rythar first met Commander Aaron Hale. Commander Hale was not loud. He did not shout to show strength. He spoke calmly, with steady eyes and a voice that seemed to warm the air around him. Hale always listened before he acted. When others argued, he waited. When others doubted, he encouraged. Rythar remembered one evening clearly, the evening that changed his life. It was the night before a major battle. The camp was silent. The stars looked cold. Many soldiers sat in their shelters trying to hide their fear. Rythar walked alone, but he noticed Hale sitting on a small metal crate outside, looking up at the sky. Rythar approached him quietly. Hale glanced at him, smiled gently, and spoke. "You can't silence a storm, but you can stand strong enough to face it." Rythar did not understand at first. Hale continued, pointing at the sky. "We don't fight because we love war. We fight because someone needs to stand so others don't have to." Those words stayed with Rythar forever. They were simple words, but they carried meaning deeper than any military lesson he had ever learned. Humans were not fearless because they lacked fear. They were fearless because they chose to continue even when they were afraid. From that day, Rythar no longer saw humans as weak. He saw them as brave. The war lasted many cycles. Rythar and Hale fought side by side in many battles. Rythar learned that humans laughed easily even in hard times. They shared stories, encouraged each other, and always believed tomorrow could be better. Their spirit spread to others. Even when things seemed hopeless, humans found a way to rise again. Slowly, respect turned into trust. Trust turned into friendship, and that friendship changed Rythar's heart. But war always leaves marks. When the final battle ended, when silence returned to the galaxy, not all friends stood in that silence. Some were gone forever. Some became memories living only in the hearts of those who survived. Commander Hale was one of them. Rythar remembered the last time he saw him. He remembered Hale's calm smile, the way his voice remained steady even in the hardest moment. Hale saved many that day. His actions helped end the war. And even though the world was saved, Rythar carried the sound of those final moments deep inside. They were not sounds of suffering. They were the sounds of bravery, the sounds of people who refused to give up. Years passed. Rythar left military life. He searched for peace, hoping to find a place where he could rest. That is how he found Sorel 9, the quiet moon that seemed untouched by the chaos of the galaxy. He built a small home among the trees. He worked with farmers. He taught young local children about the stars and about cooperation. His days were calm. His nights were quiet. But every night when the twin stars set and darkness covered the forests, the memories returned not as nightmares, not as fear, but as echoes. He still heard the voices of the humans who stood beside him, the courage in their words, the unity in their hearts, the way they refused to let darkness win. Rythar sometimes wondered if those memories were a gift or a burden. He could not forget, but he also did not want to forget. The war shaped him, but so did the people he met. Humans taught him something no training or strategy ever could. Strength is not always about power. Sometimes strength is simply the choice to stand again. One morning, as Rythar sat beside the river, watching the water shimmer under the light, he closed his eyes. His thoughts drifted to Hale and the humans who fought beside him. He remembered their smiles, their struggles, their victories. "I hope your world is at peace now," he whispered softly. He did not know that soon, those quiet memories would lead him back into action. He did not know that the humans would need him again. He did not know that his quiet life was about to change. For somewhere far away, a colony was calling for help, and someone remembered the promise he once made. A promise that would soon bring him back to the stars. The peaceful life on Sorel 9 could not last forever. Rythar had grown used to the quiet. He spent his days walking through the soft blue forests, talking to the few local farmers and teaching children about the stars. Life was simple. Life was calm. Yet beneath the calm, something was stirring in the galaxy. Something that could not be ignored. It began with a message. At first, Rythar did not think it serious. His communications panel, old and scratched, blinked with a light he had not seen in years. Hesitating, he reached forward and activated it. The screen flickered and then showed the emblem of Nova Reach, a distant human colony. The message was short, urgent, and clear. All Allied forces are requested. Nova Reach is under threat. Humanity asks for aid. Rythar froze. The words brought back a flood of memories. Memories of the humans he had fought beside so long ago. Commander Aaron Hale's calm voice, the bravery of every soldier, the courage that had changed the galaxy. All of it came rushing back. He sat down, gripping the edge of his chair. Trying to steady his racing thoughts, he had promised long ago that if humans needed help, he would not stand aside. And now, they were calling. The journey to Nova Reach would not be simple. Rythar had left his old ship years ago. The warships he once commanded were either retired or dismantled. But in the forest of Sorel 9 there was a small hangar where old spacecraft rested, almost forgotten. Among them he found the Serapis, his trusted ship from the war. Though aged, it was still functional. He had maintained it quietly over the years, never expecting to use it again. As Rythar prepared the ship, he thought about what awaited him. The human colony was far from Sorel 9, a place he had never visited. Reports said it was advanced but under constant threat. Most alien races had already ignored the call, believing humanity would fall. Rythar did not think that way. Humans were not weak. He remembered how they stood during the Great Rift conflict, brave, determined, and unyielding. He would go. The journey through space was long and silent. Stars passed like glowing streaks outside the cockpit of the Serapis. Rythar's thoughts wandered to Commander Hale again. Hale had been gone for many cycles now, but his teachings remained with him. "We fight because someone must stand so others do not have to." The words echoed in his mind. That was the reason he flew now. Not for glory, not for duty, but because someone needed help. The humans of Nova Reach would not fight alone. Rythar adjusted the ship's navigation. He scanned the path for dangers, old habits from his military days taking over. Though he had been out of war for years, instinct returned quickly. He remembered formations, enemy behaviors, and battle strategies all stored deeply in his mind. But this mission was different. He was not leading armies. He was answering a call. He was returning to an alliance forged not in politics but in trust and shared courage. As the Seraphis approached Nova Reach, Rethar observed the colony from orbit. It was larger than he expected. A bustling city of white towers, glowing walkways, and human citizens moving like rivers of light below. Yet something was wrong. Smoke rose in the distance. Alarms flashed across the city. Rethar's heart tightened. The colony was under attack. He activated the communication channel. "This is Rethar of the Valorian Alliance. I have answered your call. Tell me how I can assist." A human voice replied, calm but firm. "Rethar, we did not expect someone from your kind. But we are glad you are here. I am Captain Lyra Hale. Commander Aaron Hale was my father. He spoke often of you. We need your help. Our defenses are holding, but not for long. Enemy fleets are larger than we predicted." Rethar felt a strange warmth in his chest. Lyra Hale, daughter of the man who had taught him so much, was here, and she trusted him. He replied simply, "I will do everything I can. Prepare for my landing. Together we will hold them." The landing was tense. Enemy drones and patrol ships flew above the colony, scanning for targets. Rethar guided the Seraphis through the chaotic sky, dodging blasts and weaving between obstacles. Humans on the ground watched, their eyes wide, as the alien ship descended with precision. When Rethar finally stepped onto solid ground, the humans looked at him with surprise and relief. They had heard stories of the Valorian Alliance, but few believed one would come to their aid. Lyra Hale approached him. Her face was serious, determined, but her eyes carried something Rethar recognized immediately: pride. "Rethar," she said, extending her hand, "I am grateful you are here. We have little time." Rethar shook her hand firmly. "I do not need gratitude. I am here because it is right. We face this threat together." And so their alliance began. The humans brought him quickly into the command center. Screens displayed enemy positions, city maps, and the status of defensive turrets. Rethar's eyes scanned the data quickly. He analyzed the formations of the incoming fleet and the weak points in their approach. "This attack is calculated," he said quietly. "They believe humans will surrender. They underestimate your resolve, but that is their mistake." Lyra nodded. "We have held them before, but the fleet this time is unlike any we have faced. Our soldiers are brave, but fear is growing." Rethar leaned forward, his mind racing. He remembered the lessons from Hale: patience, strategy, and unity. "Then we do not let fear control us. We organize. We fight together. And we remind them that courage is not measured by size, but by the will to stand." Humans, listening to him, seemed to relax slightly. His words carried weight, not because he was a warrior, but because he had fought beside their kind before. And survived. Over the next few cycles, Rethar and Lyra worked tirelessly. The colony's soldiers trained alongside him. They learned alien tactics, studied enemy patterns, and practiced maneuvers that could save lives. Rethar was surprised. Humans learned quickly, adapted faster than any other species he had known. "They are stubborn," he thought, smiling quietly. And brilliant. Lyra, too, impressed him. She was calm under pressure, decisive when choices were hard, and inspiring when fear threatened morale. He could see why her father had trusted her. She was the same leader he remembered, one strong, patient, and wise. Even in these hours of preparation, the humans laughed. They told stories from old battles, shared food, and reminded each other why they fought. Rethar had never seen warriors who could be so alive in the midst of war. They fought not because it was their duty, but because it was their choice. A choice to protect each other. And that, Rethar realized, was what made humans different. As night fell over Nova Reach, Rethar stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Enemy lights flickered far in the distance like fireflies in a storm. He remembered the battles of long ago, the cries of both victory and loss. But this time felt different. This time he was not alone. Humans stood ready beside him, and for the first time in years he felt hope rising. Hope was a strange feeling for a soldier who had witnessed so much destruction. But it was stronger than fear, brighter than the dangers ahead. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "Your enemies will learn once again that humans are not to be underestimated." And somewhere deep inside, He knew he would stand with them just as he once had, to protect, to defend, and to honor the courage that humans carried in their hearts. The first night passed quietly. The humans rested, trained, and prepared. Rethar stayed awake, watching, listening, remembering, and planning. Tomorrow the battle would begin. Tomorrow the test of courage would return, but tonight there was calm. And for Rethar, calm was precious, because in the quiet he could hear it. Not the screams of battle, not the chaos of war, but the echo of human spirit. A sound stronger than any weapon. A sound that reminded him why he had answered the call, and in that sound he knew. He was ready. The morning light stretched across Nova Reach, painting the tall white towers with soft gold. The colony was alive with activity. Soldiers moved with purpose, engineers repaired defensive systems, and citizens quietly prepared for what they knew was coming. Rethar stood near the command center, watching it all. His eyes sharp from years of war, noticed small details others missed. The tension in soldiers' shoulders, the determination in their steps, the flicker of fear quickly replaced by focus. Captain Lyra Hale joined him. She walked with the same calm, purposeful stride her father had once used. Rethar noticed the resemblance immediately. Her eyes met his. "We need to organize everyone," she said. "They won't wait long." Rethar nodded. "Then we show them why humans do not wait. They act, they fight, and they endure." Together they entered the command center. The room was full of screens and holograms, showing enemy positions and the colony's defensive lines. Lyra turned to her officers. "Rethar has fought beside humans before," she said. "He understands what courage means. Listen to him, learn from him, and prepare yourselves." The soldiers looked at Rethar with curiosity. Many had heard of his deeds in the Great Rift conflict. Some whispered stories of his skill, his calm in battle, and his loyalty to humans. Now, they would witness it firsthand. Rethar moved to a large table in the center of the room, displaying maps of the city and surrounding space. "The enemy is strong," he said. "They have numbers, speed, and technology designed to overwhelm. But they do not have your determination. They do not have your spirit. And they underestimate you. That is our advantage." He began outlining strategies. He showed them how to position defensive turrets to cover blind spots. He explained how small squads could intercept enemy drones and reduce damage. He even taught them alien methods of deception and diversion, tactics that were new to the human soldiers but quickly understood. Lyra nodded, impressed. "You are teaching them faster than I imagined," she said quietly. Rethar smiled faintly. "Humans learn quickly. That is why your species survived when many others fell. Intelligence without courage is empty. Courage without intelligence is reckless. You have both." The soldiers listened carefully. Some asked questions. Some suggested changes, and Rethar answered each one with patience, showing respect for their knowledge and experience. By the time the session ended, the soldiers felt prepared. Not just physically, but mentally. They were ready to fight it together. Training was intense. Rethar worked with small squads, guiding them through simulations of enemy attacks. He watched as humans adapted strategies he had once used with his own soldiers years ago. They moved faster, thought faster, and worked together seamlessly. During one exercise, a young soldier hesitated. Rethar noticed immediately and walked over. "Fear is normal," he said softly. "It does not make you weak. Weakness is when you let fear decide for you. Stand, act, and the fear will follow your courage." The soldier nodded, took a deep breath, and tried again. This time he succeeded. Raythar's amber eyes glimmered with quiet approval. It reminded him of humans he had fought beside long ago, resilient, unyielding, and willing to rise again. Lyra observed from nearby, taking notes and giving her own encouragement. "You are patient with them," she said, almost to herself. "Just like my father was." Raythar paused. "He taught me that courage is not always about the front line. Sometimes it is about standing beside someone who is afraid and helping them find their strength." Lyra smiled faintly, though her expression remained serious. "Then we fight not only for survival, but to protect those who cannot yet find their courage. That is what makes humans human." Raythar nodded. He felt the same pride he had felt years ago when he first fought alongside Commander Hale. The humans of Nova Reach were not just soldiers. They were defenders, protectors, and warriors of the spirit. By the second day, Rythar had formed small teams of specialists. Each team had a clear task: intercepting enemy scouts, defending key points, and relaying information to the command center. Communication was constant. Humans had their methods, Rythar had his, and together they created something new. A hybrid of intelligence, strategy, and courage. Even engineers became part of the training. They learned how to anticipate enemy attacks and repair turrets under pressure. Civilians were organized into safe zones, prepared for evacuation if necessary. Every person had a role, and every role mattered. Rythar watched all of this and realized something he had known for years. Humans were not simply brave. They were extraordinary. And when given leadership, trust, and a plan, they became unstoppable. Lyra approached him one evening after a long day of training. "Rythar," she said, "I have never seen my soldiers so prepared. You have done more than I expected, and yet you seem distant. What is on your mind?" Rythar looked at her, then at the city below. Lights glimmered, soldiers moved, and children played quietly in their safe zones. "I remember when I first fought beside your father," he said slowly. "I saw humans rise above fear in ways I could never have imagined. I thought it would be enough to protect them. But the enemy always finds new ways. I fear that hope alone is not enough." Lyra nodded. "Hope is only the beginning," she said. "Action is what turns hope into victory. We act, we fight, and we stand together. That is enough." Rythar felt a warmth in his chest. She was right. He had been alone for years, carrying memories of past battles. But now he was not alone. He had humans who trusted him, who believed in him, who were ready to fight beside him. Night fell again, and Rythar patrolled the city walls. The enemy fleet was still distant, but reconnaissance drones reported movement. He watched the sky carefully, remembering every strategy, every formation, every lesson he had learned in his years of war. And then he saw it. A faint flash, a trail in the darkness. Enemy scouts. They were testing defenses, probing weak points, searching for openings. Rythar signaled the command center. "Enemy scouts approaching. Prepare teams Alpha and Beta. Intercept immediately." Within moments, humans moved into position. Turrets activated, patrols deployed, and squads of soldiers ran silently through the streets. Rythar took the lead, coordinating their movements. The scouts were fast, but humans were faster. They adapted, they predicted, and they acted with precision. The first contact was swift. Laser fire lit the night sky. Enemy drones exploded in brilliant flashes of light, scattering pieces across the city walls. Humans did not panic. They remained focused, moving with unity and courage. Rythar fought alongside them, guiding, correcting, and assisting. He noticed the young soldier he had encouraged earlier. The same soldier moved with confidence now, leading a squad and directing fire. Rythar's amber eyes glimmered with pride. By the end of the night, the enemy scouts were destroyed and the city remained unharmed. Humans cheered, though quietly. There was still much to prepare, and the main fleet would arrive soon. The victory, though small, brought hope. Rythar and Lyra met in the command center afterward. "You see," she said, "courage, training, and unity. That is all we need to face the larger fleet." Rythar nodded. "Yes, and yet we must remain vigilant. This was only a test. The real battle is coming." Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. "I have heard stories of your courage," she said, "but I see something more. You believe in humans even when danger is near. That is rare, that is inspiring." Rythar felt a strange emotion, a mixture of pride and humility. He had spent years remembering the humans he once fought beside. Now he was fighting beside their children, carrying forward a legacy of courage. And in that moment he realized why he had answered the call. It was not for duty. It was not for glory. It was for the spirit of humanity itself. As the first light of dawn broke, Rythar stood at the edge of the city wall, looking toward the distant stars. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the enemy fleet waited, larger, stronger, more relentless than anything they had faced before. But Rythar no longer felt fear. He had seen the courage of humans, their resilience, and their unwavering will, and he knew this. When humans fought together, they were unstoppable. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "Let them come. We are ready." For Rythar, the war was no longer just about survival. It was about unity, trust, and the courage that could rise from even the darkest night. And tomorrow, when the enemy arrived, humans would stand tall, and he would stand beside them once more. The sky above Nova Reach darkened as the enemy fleet approached. Stars glimmered faintly through the clouds of distant smoke, but the colony's lights shone brighter, defiant against the shadow. The people of Nova Reach knew the danger was near. The soldiers had trained for months, prepared for this moment, but tension still hung in the air. Even the strongest hearts felt the weight of what was coming. Rethar stood on the highest observation tower with Captain Lyra HFY. Both scanned the horizon, noting the shapes of the incoming ships, the flashes of their scanners, and the rhythm of their advance. "They're larger than predicted," Lyra said quietly, her hand resting on the rail. "But we have the advantage of preparation and strategy. We know their path." Rethar nodded. "Numbers alone do not win battles. Coordination, courage, and the will to fight. That is what defeats overwhelming odds." He thought of the humans he had fought beside long ago, remembering Commander Aaron Hale's calm guidance. That calm presence was alive in Lyra now, guiding the soldiers with quiet confidence. Rethar felt a familiar sense of purpose. The enemy fleet came closer. Their massive warships filled the sky, casting shadows over the city. Drones swept ahead, scanning for weak points. Nova Reach's turrets hummed, powered and ready. Soldiers moved into positions, silent but alert, every movement precise. Rethar took his place among them, guiding units and coordinating fire. His experience in the Great Rift conflict gave him insight into the enemy's tactics. He predicted their maneuvers, anticipating where they would strike first, and positioned human squads to intercept them. Lyra moved along the front lines, calm and commanding. Her voice carried authority, encouraging soldiers, reminding them of their training. She was not just a leader, she was the spark that held courage alive. The first clash came swiftly. Enemy drones dove toward the city, scanning for defenses. Human turrets fired in coordinated bursts, hitting targets with precision. Explosions lit the sky, sparks flying as drones fell from the clouds. Rethar moved quickly, directing squads to intercept drones that broke formation. Soldiers followed his instructions, adjusting their tactics in real time. Small teams moved silently, disabling enemy mechanisms before they could cause harm. Amid the chaos, Rethar noticed a young human soldier, the same one he had trained days ago, leading a team with confidence. His movements were precise, his eyes focused, and he issued commands with clarity. Rethar's amber eyes reflected pride. These humans were no longer novices. They were warriors, strong and unyielding. Lyra observed from the command center, coordinating with Rethar and sending squads where needed. She noticed how naturally he worked with her soldiers, how quickly he adapted to the situation. "He fights not for duty alone," she thought. "He fights because he believes in us." The battle escalated. Enemy ships fired upon the city's defenses, lasers slicing through the sky. Explosions rocked the towers, shaking the ground beneath the soldiers' feet. Civilians retreated to safe zones, guided by volunteers who had trained for this moment. The colony's survival depended on every person doing their part. Rethar moved along the front lines, deflecting attacks, offering guidance and leading soldiers with precision. He remembered his own past battles, the strategies he had used, and adapted them to the human strengths. He did not underestimate them, nor did he underestimate the enemy. Every decision had to be perfect. The enemy made their first major push. A group of heavily armed ships moved toward the city's main power core, intending to disable the energy shields that protected the colony. If they succeeded, the colony would be vulnerable and the humans could not withstand a full assault. Rethar analyzed the situation quickly. "They are overconfident," he said. "They believe the shields are weak. We will show them the strength of unity." He directed human squads to intercept the attackers. Turrets fired in synchronized patterns, creating barriers of energy that slowed the enemy advance. Pilots maneuvered through the sky, dodging attacks and retaliating with precision strikes. Lyra moved to the front lines with Rethar, encouraging her soldiers. Her calm presence steadied them, reminding them that fear was natural but action was essential. "Hold your ground," she shouted. "Every shot counts. Protect each other!" Rethar watched as soldiers executed his strategies flawlessly. He moved among them, providing support where needed, guiding them through the chaos. Together they created a defense that the enemy had not anticipated, a combination of alien tactics and human adaptability. The battle was intense. Explosions rocked the city, smoke filled the streets, and the sky burned with the fire of combat. Yet the humans did not falter. They moved with determination, covering each other, striking with precision and refusing to retreat. Rethar saw the young soldier he had trained earlier, now leading a squad in a critical position. The soldier's movements were confident, calculated, and courageous. Rethar knew he had done more than teach tactics. He had inspired belief. The humans were ready to face anything. Lyra observed the progress from the command center. She noticed the coordination, the courage, and the precision of her soldiers. "This is what we are capable of," she said softly. "This is why we never give up." Rethar nodded silently. The humans were more than capable. They were extraordinary. The enemy made their final attempt to break through. A massive warship advanced toward the city, firing powerful energy beams that shattered buildings and destroyed defenses. Soldiers struggled to hold their positions. Turrets overheated. Explosions created chaos. Rethar and Lyra exchanged a brief glance. "We end this now," Rethar said. Together, he devised a plan quickly. Small strike teams would infiltrate the enemy ship, disabling key systems while turrets focused fire on its shields. Human pilots would create diversions, drawing fire away from the strike teams. Timing, precision, and courage were essential. Rethar led the first team, moving with stealth and speed. The humans followed his instructions perfectly, advancing through enemy defenses, disabling weapons, and creating openings. Each action was synchronized, calculated, and brave. Inside the enemy ship, the strike team worked quickly. Rethar guided them through the corridors, using knowledge of alien tactics to avoid traps. The humans adapted immediately, using tools and techniques they had never learned before. Every second counted. Outside, the turrets continued to fire and pilots maneuvered skillfully, distracting the enemy fleet. The combination of strategy and courage created chaos among the attackers. They had not expected such unity, such coordination, such determination. Finally, the core of the enemy ship was reached. Rethar and the team worked to disable it. Energy beams sparked, alarms blared, and tension rose. But the humans remained focused, acting as one. With a final surge, the core shut down. The enemy ship faltered, its systems failing. Outside, the remaining enemy forces began to retreat. They had underestimated the humans, and now they paid the price. The colony remained safe. When the battle ended, silence returned to Nova Reach. Smoke rose from damaged buildings, but the city still stood. Soldiers cheered quietly, embracing each other, proud of what they had achieved. Civilians emerged from safe zones, grateful and relieved. Rethar stood beside Lyra, watching the scene. "You see what happens when courage and unity meet?" he said. Lyra smiled, though fatigue showed on her face. "Yes," she replied. "You fought with us, Rethar. You reminded us what we are capable of. We could not have done it without you." Rethar shook his head. "No," he said. "You did this yourselves. I only guided you. Courage was always yours. I only reminded you to believe in it." For a moment, they both stood quietly, taking in the aftermath. The city was safe. The humans had proven their strength. And Rethar knew deep in his heart that he had found a new kind of peace. Not from silence, but from standing together in courage and hope. As dawn approached, Rethar looked toward the horizon. The stars were quiet, the smoke of battle fading. Humans moved among the ruins, rebuilding, helping each other, and celebrating survival. The echo of their bravery lingered in his mind, stronger than any memory of past wars. He whispered softly, almost to himself, "This is why I fight. This is why I stand beside humans, because courage is not measured by victory alone. It is measured by the heart that refuses to give up." And as Nova Reach slowly recovered, Rethar felt a truth that had always guided him. He had fought beside humans once, and their spirit would never leave him. The Battle of Nova Reach had ended, and the city was quiet once more. Smoke still drifted from some damaged buildings, but the majority of the colony remained intact. Soldiers moved through the streets, checking for remaining threats and helping civilians return to safety. Engineers worked tirelessly, repairing defenses and restoring essential systems. Rethar walked slowly through the city, his eyes observing everything, and the soldiers, the citizens, the children returning to the streets. The sight was a mixture of relief and quiet pride. Humans were alive. They had endured. They had triumphed not because of sheer strength alone, but because of courage, determination, and unity. He paused near a plaza where the children played among the broken but repaired structures. Their laughter was pure, free, and unafraid. It reminded Rethar of why he had answered the call to come here. Wars were not fought for destruction. Wars were fought to protect the innocent, to preserve hope, to give people the chance to live. Captain Lyra Hale approached him, her face tired but serene. She had guided her people through the battle with calm strength, leading not only soldiers but also the spirit of the colony. Her presence radiated confidence, and her eyes reflected a deep understanding of the responsibility she carried. "Rethar," she said softly, "thank you. You were with us when it mattered most. I do not know if we could have held them without your guidance." Rethar shook his head. "No," he replied. "You held yourselves. I only reminded you of what I saw in your people long ago." "Courage is yours?" "I simply helped you see it," Lyra smiled faintly. "Then perhaps you saw something in humans that even we forget sometimes." Rythar's amber eyes reflected memories of battles long past. "Yes," he said. "I saw bravery, resilience, and the will to stand, even when the outcome is uncertain. I see it now in you, in your soldiers, and everyone here." Rythar's steps led him to the command center, now quiet after the chaos of the battle. Screens that had once displayed enemy movements now showed maps of the city, reports of damages, and updates on resource recovery. Soldiers cleaned their weapons, repaired their gear, and prepared for the next day. A young soldier he had trained earlier approached, saluting. "Sir," he said, "we did it. We held the city. Thank you for guiding us." Rythar placed a hand on the soldier's shoulder. "You did this yourselves. I only reminded you of your strength. Never forget that courage is not given. It is chosen, every day and every action." The soldier nodded, understanding the weight of the lesson. He walked away, confidence clear in his steps. Rithar watched him go and felt something he had not felt in years. Pride, pure and unburdened. The city slowly came back to life. Civilians returned to their homes. Markets reopened. Children ran through streets filled with light instead of smoke. Rythar moved quietly through the city, noting small acts of kindness. Soldiers helping families, engineers sharing food, volunteers guiding citizens to safety. He realized that the battle had not only tested their strength but also their spirit. Humans had fought bravely, yes, but they had also cared for each other, protected each other, and inspired each other. That was what made them extraordinary. That was what made them worth standing beside. Lyra approached him again, this time with a small group of leaders. "Rythar," she said, "we owe you more than words. You reminded us of what our people can do. But more than that, you reminded us of ourselves. And for that we thank you." Rithar shook his head. "Do not thank me," he said. "You earned every victory. I only helped you see it. That is all any ally can do." The sun rose higher, bathing Nova Reach in warm light. The city looked peaceful, almost serene after the long hours of battle. Rithar climbed to a high tower, looking out over the horizon. Somewhere beyond, the enemy fleet had retreated, their shadows no longer looming. The stars were quiet, the sky calm, and the wind carried the faint scent of repair and renewal. He remembered his past battles, the losses, the victories, the moments of fear and courage. He remembered Commander Aaron Hale, who had once stood beside him, guiding him, teaching him, inspiring him. And he realized that the legacy of courage continued, not just in humans but in those who choose to stand with them. Lyra joined him on the tower. "Do you ever regret fighting beside humans?" she asked quietly. Rithar looked at her, then at the city below. "No," he said. "I fought beside them once, and I will fight beside them again if needed. Their courage is a voice that will never fade. I do not regret it because it taught me something no lesson could. The true measure of strength is in the heart, not the body." Lyra nodded. "Then you understand why we fight. Not for glory, not for power, but for hope. For each other. For the chance to build something better." Rythar smiled faintly. "Yes, and that is why I answered your call." As the day continued, Rythar moved among the city's people. He helped distribute supplies, repaired damaged structures, and spoke with soldiers about lessons learned. He noticed a small group of children playing near a fountain, laughing and chasing one another. Their innocence, their joy was a reminder of what had been protected, of what had been worth fighting for. Rythar paused, watching them, and felt a sense of peace. The echoes of past battles were still in his mind, the screams of conflict, the tension, the fear, but now they were joined by new sounds: laughter, relief, courage, and hope. The memories that once haunted him now felt like guides, reminding him why he had chosen to stand beside humans and why he always would. Lyra approached him one last time as the sun began to set. "Rythar," she said, "the colony is safe. The threat has passed for now, but you have left something here, something that will not fade. You have reminded us of our strength, our courage, and our unity." Rythar looked at her, his amber eyes reflecting the last light of the day. "It is not mine to leave," he said softly. "It has always been yours. I only helped you see it," Lyra smiled. "Then let us hope we do not forget it. For when the next challenge comes, we will need to stand together again." Rythar nodded, silently agreeing. He had learned the same lesson years ago. Courage is never truly gone. It is carried in hearts, shared in actions, and remembered in times of need. That night, Rythar returned to the edge of the colony, looking up at the stars. He thought of all he had seen, the bravery of humans, the unity of their people, the way they chose to fight even in the darkest moments. He thought of Commander Hale and the first time he had stood beside humans, learning what true courage meant. He whispered softly, a promise to the night sky. "I will carry your courage with me, always. I will remember your voice, your spirit, and the strength you showed. And if the day comes again, I will stand beside you once more." The wind carried his words across the quiet city, and for the first time in years, Rythar felt completely at peace. He had seen the future, and he knew it was bright. Not because the stars shone, not because battles could be won, but because humans, and in all their stubborn, brilliant, courageous ways, one would continue to rise. Again and again, and somewhere deep in his heart he heard it, the echo of voices. The voices of those who fought, survived, and stood tall. The voices of humanity. They were not gone. They never would be. Rythar smiled faintly, letting the sound wash over him. He had fought beside humans once, and now he knew he would always hear their voices, their courage, their spirit, and their hope. For in their strength, he had found a home, and in their courage he had found himself.